What the hell?
All right, welcome everyone to this week's Option Series live stream, brought to you by Experimental Sound Studio. We have a really wonderful show for you tonight. We've got the great Eugene Chadbourne in the house, streaming in from North Carolina to bless us with a lovely solo performance. And after that, he and I will discuss his work and his life. Feel free, if any questions come to you, put them in the chat, and we'll try to handle as many audience questions as we can get to. But I won't take up too much time at the front of this broadcast, so I'm just going to shoot it right over to Eugene to take it away. Please welcome Eugene Chadbourne.
I support the troops, and I want my money back. I support the troops with my income tax. They've been burning through my money like hippies puffing on a bong. Well, please stop reminding me I'm doing something wrong. Stop telling me to do what I'm already doing. Or at least describe it accurately. Like support death and ruin, support the massacre with the nuclear bric-a-brac. I supported it all. Now I want my money back. Once I tried withholding the federal tax from my utility bill. Fella called me up on the phone. He wasn't exactly thrilled. He chewed me out, he tore me up, my confidence started to droop. I knew I had no choice but to support the troops. So don't tell me to do what I've already had to do. Or at least describe it accurately, like support the biggest gun. Support the crowded hospital full of people we attacked. I supported it all. Now I want my money back. I support the troops. How about a refund? Or can I help pick out the next place they bomb? I've had plenty of my ideas while paying for their forts. It's my green, let me decide which troops I get to support. Don't tell me to do what they already made me do. Reaching in my pocket, forever turning screws. They got so many wars, nobody can keep track. I supported them all. Now I want my money back. Retail, there's a rule about the customer always satisfied. It ought to go 100-fold when somebody has died. It's a crevice leading straight to hell, and I'm leaning over the crack. Looking at all the folks that paid to kill. Now I want my money back. Quit telling me to do what I'm already doing. Or at least describe it accurately. Like support death and ruin. Support the massacre, the nuclear chemical attack. I supported it all. Now I want my money back. I support the troops. I want my money back. I support the troops with my income tax. They've been burning through my money like hippies puffing on a bong. Please stop reminding me I've done something wrong. La 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 la. Ooh, la 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 la. Primo di Caruccia, Chevy 39, going to El Monte Legion Stadium. Pick up on my Wisa, she's so divine. Helps me polish the hubcaps, wasted all the time. Fuzzy dice, bongos in the back. My ship of love is ready to attack. La 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 la. Ooh, la 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 la. Primo di Caruccia, Chevy 39, going to El Monte Legion Stadium. Picked up on my whiz, she's so divine. Helps me polish hubcaps, waits it all the time. Fuzzy dice, bongos in the back. My ship of love is ready to attack. Well, the place was New York City. The hour was getting late. We'd walk the streets of Harlem to the Greenwich Village gate. We were young and foolish, trying out for fame. He said James Dean was his name, and I held the rose that he gave me for an hour. He wrote down the words while I picked the wildwood flower. Well, I used to be somebody. Lord, I used to have a friend. I'd like to be somebody again. I used to be somebody. Well, good Lord, where have I been? I'm never gonna see James Dean again. Well, I went with Elvis Presley to see Brando from afar. I sat with Elia Kazan and then Tennessee and did a streetcar named Desire. We laughed a lot and we danced a lot. We rocked away our fears. That was back in my rock and roll years. Well, I held the rose that he gave me for an hour while I picked the wildwood flower. Well, I used to be somebody. I used to have a friend. I'd like to be somebody again. I used to be somebody. Good Lord, where have I been? I'm never gonna see Elvis Presley again. Well, I got the best woman, and my children, they all love me. I might have done some things that are good enough for you to see, but sometimes when I'm feeling low, I swing back through my fears. I go back to my rock and roll years. Well, I held the rose that he gave me for an hour. Elvis sang the song while I picked the wildwood flower. I used to be somebody. I used to have a friend. I'd like to be somebody again. I used to be somebody. Good Lord, where have I been? I'm never gonna see James Dean again. Never gonna see Elvis Presley again. Never gonna see Frank Zappa again. Never gonna see Sam Rivers again. Never gonna see Derek Bailey again. Summer was gone, and the heat died down, and autumn reached for her golden crown. I looked behind as I heard a sigh. This is the time of no reply. The sun went down and the crowd went home. I was left in the roadside all alone. I turned to speak as they went by. This is the time of no reply. The time of no reply is calling me to stay. No hello and no goodbye. To leave there's no way. Trees on the hill have nothing to say. They keep their dreams for another day. They stand and they thought and wondered why. This is the time of no reply. Time goes on from year to year. No one asks, why am I still standing here? I've got my answer as I look to the sky. This is the time of no reply. The time of no reply, calling me to stay. No hello and no goodbye. To leave there is no way. Summer was gone and the heat died down. Autumn reached for her golden crown. Looked behind as I heard a sigh. This is the time of no reply. He banged the last gong. In Bayonne, then spoke of the cachet so perfect. He never remembered where it was. Might have seemed smarter to hide it outside. But never mind. About what may have never been. Hidden anew. So much precious time. Looking for something hidden. And no matter what you're wearing, Sooner or later, you're in the place where you blend in. And no matter what it is, one day it'll need mending. And never mind about what's missing. From view, hidden anew. They're controlling everything. It's got chaos in a knot. And no matter how well it's tied on, there comes the night when it's not. So many broken promises to myself, to you. And never mind what was outside, then moved inside. And then forgotten. And never mind there are habits that can get one killed. Touching walls, swallowing pills, making it all about you. when it's a habit, what can you do? There's skunks in every town. At night their habit is poking around. We see each other, we get scared. It's at least one habit we all share. Can't help these habits from multiplying like rabbits. They're nibbling while we're scribbling. It'll all be a habit when they're through. When it's a habit, what can you do? It's a habit in political trenches, claiming progress, marking up benches, and it's by habit they pretend to care when we're all begging and there's no more change to spare. There are habits leading to betrayal, blabbing secrets, snooping through mail, someone praying in the pew, hoping God will break his habit of never coming through. Can't help these habits from multiplying like rabbits. They're nibbling while we're scribbling. It'll all be a habit when they're through. When it's by habit, what else can you do? They're habits that can get you killed. Touching walls, swallowing pills, making it all about you. When it's a habit, what can you do? Can't help these habits from multiplying like rabbits, They are nibbling while we're scribbling. It'll all be a habit when they're through. When it's fine, what else can you do? Thank you so much. I'm going to close it out with poor song. Hope you enjoy it. All the poor for the poor. Poor shit, poor hole, poor coal, por favor. Poor skin poor, decision is poor. What poor for? Poor MAGA, poor Gaga, poor fears, poor peers. Peers fear, peers shit, peer hole, peer que pasa. Pierce cold, pierce mold, pierce skin. Where Pierce been? Peer more. What peers are for? Poor follow, poor deep, poor mask. Poor in task, per water cask, poor turd, poor word, spelled wrong, poor Da Vinci, pinchy pinchy. Poor away, poor pay, poor say. Poor sleep, poor weak, poor deep. Poor deep, poor hole, poor hole, poor favor.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Eugene. Everybody, I know we're all in different places right now, but a round of applause for Eugene Chadbourne. That was a fantastic set. I just wanted to start off the conversation with a question about the baggage that certain instruments bring to the table when you're making music. I have this conversation a lot, I think, I have had this conversation with one of my co-curators on the series, Ken Vandermark, about the baggage of instruments. I believe I've heard him say before that it sucks being a saxophonist because as soon as there's a saxophone in the group, everyone expects it to be jazz, or everyone expects it to be something specific in their mind.
There's also something around that big bass saxophone or whatever he has there.
Yeah, right. And I guess I wanted to pose the question around the baggage of the guitar, right? So I think your work is tremendous.
You got to talk about the guitar and the banjo because
Yes.
they're completely different.
No,
Absolutely.
This is an interesting subject, and you can. I think Ken could relate to like one of the first types of music, pieces of music that really inspired me was Anthony Braxton's solo saxophone. Right. Mm-hmm. I wanted to do solo guitar like that. Right away, I noticed. Well, everybody's used to people playing solo guitar. You can walk a block in any direction and there's a jerk on his porch playing guitar, maybe, you know. But people are used to seeing a solo guitar in a lot of types of music, whereas if you played solo saxophone right away, it was like, where's the band? It was so, but guitar had this element where it was featured in almost every type of music. Even if it didn't do anything like but go in reggae or something, it's there in so many types of music. Whereas then the banjo is almost in no music. It's only in a few types of music, and because of its relation to that music, it gets really pigeonholed. So that was a funny thing when I started playing the banjo. There was a reaction to that. Just taking it out of the case, people were like, "Oh my God." Especially like playing like for instance, a youth center in Germany with a lot of really young people, and they see that banjo come out, they think I'm going to play Oktoberfest music or something. So they're, and then when I start playing something else, they're like, wow. So the banjo it's the opposite of the guitar. As soon as you do something that's not expected on it, just because you're doing it on the banjo, there's some sort of excitement to it, you know.
Absolutely. And yeah, I think the banjo's roots are really interesting too, because yeah, as you mentioned, there's a very quick perception to pigeonhole any kind of banjo music as something tied to either Appalachian folk or, you know, old time music.
Bluegrass, yeah.
Right, and
the other one.
Exactly, and there's
music, you know, different types of banjos.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the, you know, I think the origins of the instrument are incredibly interesting too, right? Because you know, it gets, like I mentioned, brought up in old time circles or Appalachian music circles, and that's not really necessarily the music that instrument was born out of, right? So there's an interesting dynamic that happens that kind of takes the banjo and turns into something that it wasn't when it, you know, was first developed and used. But I think that's a really interesting dichotomy, right? The sort of narrow world that people expect a banjo to exist in versus guitar, which kind of is open to all different strains of music. And I guess the other part of that question was how that dictated your developing of your own style of playing, if that kind of openness kind of dictated for you that you would be marrying a lot of, you know, song form, old folk tradition with really, you know, radical free music as well, if that was a big component of that for you.
Oh, you said it.
Wonderful. So I want to quickly just get to an audience question, which is from Matt Lafferty, great fellow from Cleveland, asking about your use of covers in your sets, right? So taking song material and adopting it within your set, how that, what the importance or significance of that is for you, and and where that came from for you.
I think, the very first song I ever learned was a cover, of course, Stepping Stones by Paul Revere and the Raiders. But I always liked learning other people's songs, and then I always, of course, one of the things, getting into jazz in particular, not that they don't do it in rock, but getting into jazz, I said, well, they're doing all kinds of crazy things with traditional songs. The best example, of course, is my Coltrane and My Favorite Things, but there's lots of different examples. So that really stimulated me. I thought, well, let's do something like that with country and Western music, and that had the added element of kind of, at first it caused such a horrified reaction from the kind of free music crowd that it really made me laugh. So it was hard to get a reaction out of those people, so anything you could do. So that was really interesting, kind of taking that, but it was the same, to me it was just the same thing as a lot of the jazz I was listening to, and all the different, sometimes the person is just doing a lot of improvising on the chords of the song, and that's really interesting. For instance, tonight I did some songs by people you could just do entire shows of, Nick Drake or Coltrane. They have so many wonderful pieces. So you have to kind of, I have to sort of choose certain ones and kind of work on them for a while. But I look for something where the lyrics really express something that I like. I did the Zappa song tonight because it's one of the only song titles I could find that had anything to do with the plague. Of course, that was Dog Breath in the Year of the Plague, which has always been one of my favorite Zappa pieces. I like a challenge, a musical challenge. I like the chords have to be interesting, or the lyrics have to be, really. There has to be something really that I can sink my teeth into, and then it has to be something that I can add my own special touch to. And then over the years, I went from having people say, are you going to go where you don't sing? And why do you think you can sing? To like people telling me, oh, I really like your voice and I like the way you do these songs. So that gives you a lot of confidence. And then when I've had some contact with the songwriter or people from their bands or something that like the versions, and that also makes you feel good. So it's a good thing to do. Everybody should do it.
Yeah, you kind of guided me right to the next question I was going to ask, which is that it was really interesting hearing you discuss how kind of the lineage of jazz and how a lot of jazz music became standardized, which was taking, show tunes or pop tunes and adapting it to be able to improvise over it. But often in those contexts, the text is stripped away. There's no vocal aspect to it. So I guess I was going to ask, at what point was it for you super critical to carry over the text and the lyrical component of it as well as you're adapting this other material?
If there are words, it's really important. Lester Young, the great jazz saxophonist, said you always should learn the words to all the songs so you know what the song is about that you're playing the melody to. And that's how, and then sometimes the title, an instrumental, the title might be might signify something. That's almost like a type of text. So, yeah, the text is important, and it's like if you write lyrics, it's something you can really, it's really fun to kind of hone them over. Sometimes I'll have a lyric, I'll change one word after 5 years because of the way I sing it one night. And that's just really fun with lyrics.
Absolutely. A friend of mine who's a great composer and a percussionist and clarinetist knew that I was doing this discussion, and I was asking if there was anything that he wanted to ask of you, and I thought he had a really great question, which I'm sure is something that comes up to you a lot, but the question of humor and how you see that as a presence in your work. It can frequently be a very present aspect of your work, and just wondering how you see that, how you see the reaction to it by what can oftentimes feel like a very serious free music audience, or how that dynamic plays for you.
Yeah, I
I understood that reaction like very quickly when I started performing, and that I like using humor, and I like a mixture of humor and the absolute opposite, and I like it sometimes when the audience isn't sure what's what. I have great respect for people that don't use humor and are really not comfortable with humor. And I've been in some weird situations that have developed because that is really quite a clash. One example I remember from the early days was the first time I did a series of performances in New Orleans, and we were playing at an art center, and it was a group I had with John Zorn and Polly Bradfield, Leslie DeLama quartet. And there was one piece that a trio piece we were doing, John's called Hockey, which the players would pick, I don't remember the number of 5, 7 sounds, or you had these sounds, you just repeated the sounds. And it was all about timing, how you repeated the sounds. And we were trying different sounds. For the New Orleans thing, I said, I think tonight for my sounds, I'm just going to play New Orleans and Mississippi Delta blues and rock riffs. And John goes, oh, great idea, that's fantastic. But he didn't realize that people would think it was really funny. And no matter what I did with the timing, people really laughed, and at that point, really uncomfortable. He didn't think it was supposed to be a humorous piece of music. But of course, one of the great jokes about timing is that comedy is what's the essence, is timing, and you're supposed to say that while the person's saying what. But, so it was natural to me. I thought, well, of course, anything about timing is going to get into humor. But yeah, some people are really not comfortable with that. It's something I like. It's a weapon that you have at your disposal. And you get into country and western, a lot of that music is really funny. Rock and roll too. Some of the songs are just really, really funny.
And especially using that humor when you're using it around a very serious, dark topic, like the first piece that you opened up with tonight, dealing with the war and the greatest miseries that humans can bring upon each other, right? But using humor to deliver that, I think is really emblematic of the power of humor, right? Which I think was wonderful. I also saw a question in the chat about Doc Boggs, and Ken was wondering what your thoughts were on Doc Boggs's music, and what he means to you, or what his music means to you.
Well, I just love all that stuff. Doc Boggs, Roscoe Holcomb, that type of stuff. That's very special. People, and also not so, a lot of it not so recorded. You have to get on the recordings that exist. People did from it. I steal things from it, but it's like that's a whole other world,
Absolutely. A topic that I have been asking a lot of the artists who come on the series recently, especially obviously, is with the state of quarantine over the past couple months. I know this is also kind of coinciding with the question in the chat again from Matt, because we know you tour a lot. You're somewhat of a road dog. What life has been like the last few months adjusting to where we're at right now, and being mostly stationary, how that's been for you, and just how you're doing through all this so far.
Well, I hate to talk about it in a way because other people are dying, and for me, it's has not been a bad thing. I lived a very high-pressured life. It's true that I toured a lot of times when I didn't really want to be, but I always enjoy playing my music, but the conditions are really shit. In a lot of cases, I've never been like an incredibly successful person, so Although, on the other hand, I've played music and done pretty much just that for a long time. So most people would assume that's success. But what I mean is it's a struggle. And this is, for instance, the first time I've ever been able to get unemployment, whether they're giving me an extra 600 a week or just the 132 I'm down to this week. I've never been able to get, never having to play. And sometimes I wouldn't have jobs for months. I don't miss sitting on the phone and organizing all the things, and I don't really miss it's nice to have a break from the travel. I have a really nice place to live in, a lot of things I'm working on, and just all kinds of things I haven't been able to work on because I'm leaving all the time. So that's the good side of it. The bad side of it is the lack of not being able to see my grandchild. My daughters very often. I mean, I don't even know how some people can deal with it, and the pressure's terrible.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I guess from
it's a weird thing to live through.
Yeah, truly the weirdest, right? Like, I don't know. I have a shorter.
And so much of it has to do with how badly the society, everything to do with it, from the infrastructure, the healthcare system, the wages people were working for. It just goes on and on. So then it's just kind of like a total collapse.
Right, like nothing new has necessarily been revealed. I guess that's not entirely true, but a lot of just the same structural, just horrendous rot is being revealed rapidly. And it's a fascinating and
with a festering pimp at the top.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I hope you find it.
Yeah, I was going to ask also, another component of your creative work is, I think DIY ethos is a critical part of, obviously creating your own strain of music is one thing from a creative perspective, but also like organizing the work and finding a way forward for yourself as someone who makes, not outright commercial work, right? And whether it's putting out your own music or organizing your own tours, you have largely, done so much of it yourself over many, many years. I guess I was wondering how, especially now going forward in the time that we're in, how do you think more artists are going to have to explicitly rely on their own organizing and what have you, now that a lot of those structures are kind of rotting away?
This was always the thing to do, I thought. I never had any patience for people that were telling me, I've got a great band, and as soon as I can find someone to book it, we're going to go on tour. This kind of thing. Just kind of like preventing yourself from moving forward because you don't want to take on some part of it. A lot of aspects of it, for instance, I've been working on a lot of recording projects that are coming out, not only for my own label, but different live vinyl in France, and a bunch of different things that people are putting out. So there have been a lot of activity going on still in all the different areas, and then just getting the music. I've had time to really work on my little shop and making it possible for people. People can download my book now if they don't want to have a 6-pound book in their house, or etc. It's useful for this kind of thing. I can certainly understand for some people it's not useful at all. But it really irritates me hearing these people talking about, I'm bored, I want to go to the beauty parlor, I've got to go to the gym. I mean, it's just people, I just don't get it at all. It's just it's the worst side of so many people. So many people are great, but this is just like, you see this stuff going on, you're like, oh, come on. What about this big concert by a group called the Chainsmokers? I mean, it's like. Oh.
So yeah, I have a lot of stories about them as a music teacher of teenagers. But yeah, I mean, I think it reveals a lot of deep cultural things about how we feel about the individual and and how we feel about cooperating with each other to manage what should be simple tasks of not going outside as much as you can and not killing each other. But yeah,
playing live music is a wonderful experience as a musician. A lot of things about it. A lot of things about it are painful. You have to really want to do it. But the being packed into a room with a bunch of sweaty, drunken people spitting on each other and stuff that's never been my favorite part of it at all.
No.
I have to say.
if we can find a way to make the music acceptable and sound and look good and not deal with spitting on each other and sweating on each other so much, I think that may be an accomplishment.
Well, we'll see what the future solutions are.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I'll be getting up every day and practicing.
Fantastic. Well, I think that wraps up our time for tonight, but I just want to thank you one more time, Eugene, for honoring us with this set. It was really wonderful to hear you, and really, I think inspiring and enlivening to see and hear you. So, and I think everyone watching feels the same way. So I just wanted to thank you one more time. Yeah, and everyone's tune back in next week. The great Gerald Cleaver will be in the house and in discussion with our Ken Vandermark. So definitely keep coming back and watching the streams, and we'll see everybody next time. Take care, everybody.
Say hi to Ken.